The massive crystalline chamber stretched endlessly in all directions, its walls pulsing with soft blue light that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of distant stars. Ambassador Kim Soo stood alone at the center of the circular floor, his black, diplomatic suit, a stark contrast against the shimmering alien architecture surrounding him. Above him, 12 different species occupied their designated platforms, each one representing a different world, a different culture, and a different reason to despise humanity. The air hummed with the constant chatter of universal translators, converting the clicks, hisses, and melodic tones of alien languages into words Kim Soo could understand. He had been to this chamber many times before, but never under circumstances like these. The usual diplomatic pleasantries were absent today. Instead, tension filled the space like a suffocating fog. High Counselor Vextera raised her elongated arm, and the chamber fell silent. Her species, the Kethmori, were known for their multiple eyes and their absolute belief in order above all else. 6 black eyes blinked in perfect sequence as she spoke, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. Ambassador Kim Soo, of Earth, she began, her words echoing through the chamber. The Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision regarding your species. This decision is final and non-negotiable. Kim Soo kept his expression neutral, though his heart began to race. He had suspected this day might come, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real in a way that preparation never could. Humanity will surrender 70% of all planetary resources to be redistributed among member species of the Council, Vextara continued. Additionally, 80% of your population will be relocated to designated reservation worlds, where they can be properly monitored and managed. The remaining 20% will remain on Earth under direct Council oversight. The words hit Kim Soo like physical blows. He had expected demands, but nothing this severe. Around the chamber, alien faces watched him with expressions ranging from satisfaction to cold indifference. None showed even a hint of sympathy. You have 6 standard months to comply with these terms, Vextera added. Failure to do so will result in immediate military intervention. Kim Soo forced himself to remain calm, though every instinct screamed at him to protest. And if we refuse? Counselor Zephrok, a member of the aquatic Mordani species, shifted in his water-filled containment unit. His tentacles writhed in what Kim Soo recognized as amusement. Refusal is not an option, human. Your species has proven too aggressive, too unpredictable. The recent conflicts with the Veltar Mining Consortium and the incident at the Proxima trade station have shown us that humanity cannot be trusted to govern itself. The galaxy requires management of your kind, added Counselor Tissera. Reptilian features twisted in what might have been a smile. Consider this a kindness. We could have simply eliminated your species entirely. Kim Soo felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. I will need to consult with my government, of course, Vextara replied. You have 72 hours to provide your government's response. But understand this. Ambassadors, the decision has already been made. We are simply informing you of what will happen. 47 million kilometers away on Earth, President Lee Min sat in the underground situation room deep beneath the Capitol building. The secure chamber had been built to withstand nuclear war, but today it felt more like a tomb. The holographic display showed Kim Soo's transmission from the council chambers, and every word felt like a nail being driven into humanity's coffin. Around the oval table sat the most powerful people on Earth. Defense Secretary Park Jin, former SC general whose career had been built on preparing for the unthinkable, gripped his coffee cup so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Admiral Cho Hyun, the youngest person ever to command the Solar Defense Fleet, drummed her fingers against the table in a rhythmic pattern that betrayed her racing thoughts. Dr. Yoon Hay from the Department of Advanced Sciences sat perfectly still, her brilliant mind already calculating possibilities and outcomes. The silence stretched between them like a taut wire, ready to snap at any moment. Everyone in the room understood what they had just heard. This was not a negotiation. This was a death sentence for human civilization as they knew it. They actually believe we'll accept this, Park Jin finally said, his voice barely containing the anger that burned beneath the surface. 70% of our resources, 80% of our people, they want to turn us into pets. Admiral Cho Hyun stopped drumming her fingers and looked up at the president. They underestimate us. They see our diplomatic efforts as weakness. They think, because we negotiate instead of shooting first, we're incapable of fighting back. Dr. Yoonhae spoke for the first time since the transmission ended. The quantum disruptor project is complete. The gravitational anchor systems are online. We've been preparing for this possibility for 20 years. President Lee Min stood and walked to the large screen displaying Earth from orbit. A blue marble looked so peaceful, so beautiful. It was hard to imagine that in 6 months, most of humanity might be scattered across alien worlds, living as refugees in their own galaxy. Signal all department heads, she said quietly. Activate protocol blackout. If they want to treat us like children, they're about to learn what happens when you corner a wounded animal. The massive doors of the United Nations Assembly Hall swung open with a heavy thud that echoed through the chamber. President Lee Min walked slowly down the center aisle, her footsteps the only sound in the completely silent room. 293 representatives from every nation on Earth sat in their seats. Watching her with expressions that mixed hope and fear in equal measure, the weight of the moment pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. In her hand, she carried humanity's response to the Galactic Council's ultimatum. The decision that would determine whether humans would spend the rest of their existence as slaves or die fighting as free beings. She reached the podium and looked out at the sea of faces before her. Behind those faces, she knew billions of people around the world were watching through their screens, waiting to hear their fate. Children playing in parks, workers in factories, farmers tending their crops, all of them unknowing that their lives hung in the balance of the words she was about to speak. Today, we face a choice, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's perfect acoustics. We can bow to tyranny, or we can stand as free beings. The Galactic Council believes that fear will make us surrender our freedom. Believe that the threat of destruction will make us abandon everything that makes us human. The representatives leaned forward in their seats, hanging on every word. Some had tears in their eyes. Others clenched their fists in determination. Have consulted with every leader on this planet, Lee Min continued. From the smallest village to the largest city, from every culture and every nation, the answer is the same. She paused, letting the silence build. I speak for all humanity when I say, we choose freedom. The hall exploded in applause. Representatives jumped to their feet, shouting and cheering. The sound was deafening, a roar of defiance that seemed to shake the very foundations of the building. But Lee Min knew that the celebration would be short-lived. The real test was about to begin. She was right. Within 3 hours of her speech, the first alien ships began to appear in Earth's orbit. They materialized out of nowhere, their advanced technology making them seem like ghosts, suddenly becoming solid. The massive vessels of the Vectari Empire looked like floating cities, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that could level continents. The sleek Safani cruisers moved like silver knives through space, their elegant curves hiding devastating firepower. Most disturbing were the bioships of the Mordani Collective, living vessels that pulsed and writhed as they took their positions around the planet. Captain Jung Min stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the enemy fleet through the reinforced viewport. His ship was hidden in the shadow of Earth's moon, its stealth systems making it invisible to alien sensors. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, their faces showing the calm professionalism that came from years of training for this exact moment. Count them, he ordered his tactical officer, Lieutenant Kim Yu. The young woman's fingers danced across her console, analyzing the sensor data. 2,700 ships, sir, she reported. They've got us outnumbered 50-1. Jung Min smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. It was the cold smile of a predator who had been underestimated by his prey. Good, he said quietly. They think numbers matter. On the surface of Earth, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Cho Hyun coordinated with hidden bases scattered. Throughout the solar system, the command center looked like something from a science fiction movie. Its holographic displays showing the positions of both human and alien forces. But this was no fiction. This was the moment 20 years of secret. Preparation would either save humanity or prove insufficient. Titan Base. Report status, she spoke into her communications headset. Major Sankey here, came the response from Saturn's largest moon. Mining platform cover is holding. They still think we're just extracting helium-3. The irony was perfect. The aliens had watched humans build installations throughout the solar system and assumed they were simple mining operations. They had no idea that each mining platform was actually a heavily armed fortress disguised to look harmless. Siri Station? Commander Park So reporting. Asteroid defense grid is online and hidden. They're scanning right past us. It's even better. The aliens were actively scanning the asteroid belt, looking for threats. And their sophisticated sensors were detecting nothing but rocks and mining equipment. They had no idea that dozens of weapon platforms were hidden among the asteroids, waiting for the signal to reveal themselves in the depths of the Pacific. Dr. Yoonhae supervised the final preparations at the Quantum Research Facility. The massive underwater complex had been built in secret over the past decade, funded by money that officially did not exist. Here, humanity's brightest minds had developed weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. The disruptors are calibrated, she reported to her assistant, Dr. Baijun. One shot can tear apart their molecular structure at the atomic level. Dr. Baijun looked worried. And if they discover our true capabilities before we're ready? Dr. Yoonhae turned to face him, her expression as cold as the ocean depths above them. Then we make sure they don't live to report it. The blockade was complete. The aliens thought they had won before the fight even began. They had no idea what was coming. The Council's blockade had been in place for 3 days now. The alien ships moved through space around Earth like sharks circling wounded prey. Their massive vessels cast shadows across the planet's surface. As they maintained their patrol patterns, confident that humanity would soon beg for mercy, but deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a command center that officially did not exist, Admiral Cho Huyan watched their movements with the patience of a chess master planning her next move. The underground facility stretched 4 kilometers in all, directions carved from solid rock and reinforced with materials that could survive a direct nuclear strike. Holographic displays filled the air around her, showing not just the alien fleet, but something far more impressive, the true scope of humanity's hidden network. Installations that the aliens had dismissed as simple mining operations and civilian infrastructure were revealed for what they really were: the most sophisticated military network ever constructed. Status report, she ordered, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Colonel Kim-do here from Luna Base, came the first response. Our mass drivers are repositioned and ready. The Council ships are maintaining standard patrol patterns, just like you predicted. They're treating this like a routine occupation. The Colonel's voice carried a note of satisfaction. The Luna Base had been disguised as a helium-3 mining facility for over a decade, but its true purpose was far more deadly. The mass drivers that appeared to be simple cargo launchers were actually capable of hurling tungsten rods at incredible speeds, turning each projectile into a weapon more powerful than any nuclear missile. Captain Li Bo, from the Belt Command, came another voice. Asteroid mining platforms have deployed their weapon systems. The aliens are still convinced we're just digging rocks. Their scans show nothing but standard mining equipment. Admiral Cho Hyan smiled grimly. The asteroid belt had been humanity's greatest deception. For 20 years, mining ships had hollowed out asteroids and filled them with weapons, power cores, and defense systems. From the outside, they looked like ordinary space rocks. From the inside, they were fortress cities, capable of devastating any fleet that came within range. Dr. Yoonhae entered the command center, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. Her face was grim, but her eyes held the fire of someone who had spent years preparing for this moment. The quantum disruptors are online, she reported. Each installation can create a cascade failure that will tear apart anything within a 50-kilometer radius. Admiral Cho Haeon turned to face her. And the gravitational anchors. Dr. Park Yoon has confirmed all stations are ready, can destabilize their ship's artificial gravity, making them helpless. Or, she paused, the weight of what she was about. To say clear in her voice, we can destabilize the gravity wells of entire star systems. The implications of that statement hung in the air like a sword. Humanity had not just built weapons to defend Earth, they had built weapons that could reshape the very fabric of space itself. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that had barely learned to travel between planets. They had no idea they were facing beings who could manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. "Signal all commanders," Admiral Cho-Heen ordered. "Begin Phase 1 positioning." Across the solar system, human forces began to move with the precision of a clockwork mechanism. Each ship, each station, each hidden weapon platform had been waiting for this moment. The UES Vengeance under Captain Ojin began maneuvering through the asteroid belt, her hull modified with special plating that made her look like just another piece of space debris on alien sensors. The UES Retribution, commanded by Captain Yumin, drifted silent and dark near Jupiter's moons, her crew maintaining complete radio silence as they prepared for the signal to strike, high above Earth. In what appeared to be a simple communications satellite, Major Song Ki watched alien patrol ships pass within kilometers of his concealed position. The massive vessels moved with the confidence of predators who believed they faced no real threat. Their weapons were powered down, their shields at minimum strength, their crews probably relaxed and casual. "They're so confident," he muttered. To his second-in-command, Lieutenant Bei Yu, "I think we're defenseless. Look at them. They're not even trying to hide their patrol routes." "Let them think that," she replied, her fingers dancing across her console as she tracked the alien movements. "The longer they underestimate us, the more devastating our response will be. They have no idea what's coming." A massive bioship that pulsed with organic life. Commander Zefrock reviewed intelligence reports with the bored expression of someone going through a routine exercise. His species, the Mordani, had conquered dozens of worlds, and this felt like just another simple occupation. The tentacles that served as his arms moved dismissively as he scrolled through data about human defenses. "The humans have some mining operations and small defensive stations," he told his staff. "Nothing that can threaten our armada. This will be the easiest conquest in Council history." His tactical officer, a nervous Vectari named Clickstar, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Sir, some of their installations show unusual energy signatures. The readings don't match standard mining equipment." Zefrock waved a tentacle dismissively. "Primitive nuclear reactors. These humans can barely split atoms properly. Begin the assault tomorrow. This will be over in hours." But deep beneath Earth's ocean, Admiral Cho-Heen was counting on exactly that kind of arrogance. The trap was set, and the aliens had walked right into it. The first rays of dawn were breaking over Earth's horizon when the Council's attack began. Commander Zefrock had chosen this moment carefully, believing that humans would be at their weakest during the transition from night to day. Thousands of alien vessels descended from their blockade positions in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the early sunlight. Like a deadly constellation falling from the heavens, the massive ships moved with the confidence of predators who had done this countless times before. Weapon systems hummed to life, charging capacitors that could level entire cities. Shield generators created shimmering barriers around each vessel. The aliens expected this to be over quickly, a brief bombardment to break human resistance, followed by surrender at the beginning of Earth's occupation. They never saw the trap closing around them, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Admiral Cho-Hyen watched the alien fleets approach on her holographic displays. Every ship was exactly where her calculations had predicted they would be. Every formation was moving along the routes her analysts had mapped out weeks ago. The aliens were so confident in their superiority that they had become predictable. "All units, execute protocol blackout," she commanded, her voice carrying across. "Secure channels to every corner of the solar system." The response was immediate and devastating. The solar system erupted in violence unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Hidden installations throughout the asteroid belt revealed themselves. In flashes of deadly light, what had appeared to be simple mining platforms suddenly bristled with weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Quantum disruptors, humanity's most closely guarded secret, tore through alien hulls like tissue paper, unmaking the very atoms that held their ships together. The UES Vengeance, under Captain Ojin, struck the Council's left flank like a bolt of lightning. Her ship had been hiding among the asteroids, disguised as space debris, waiting for this exact moment. The experimental weapons mounted on her hull were unlike anything the aliens had encountered. Energy beams that could phase through shields. Projectiles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. And missiles that could track targets through hyperspace itself. "Target the big one," Captain Ojin ordered, pointing at a massive Victari battleship that was trying to organize the alien response. "Let's show them what human engineering can do." The Vengeance's main weapon fired, and the battleship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was a kilometer-long vessel bristling with weapons, the next it was an expanding cloud of superheated gas. Two more cruisers tried to flank the human ship, but they met the same fate. The aliens had never encountered weapons that could tear apart matter at the quantum level. "Direct hit on the command ship," reported Lieutenant Kim Yu from the bridge of the UES Defiance. Captain Jung Min watched through the viewport as their quantum torpedo punched through the massive vessel's shields like they weren't there. The torpedo didn't explode in the traditional sense. Instead, it created a bubble of altered space-time that caused the ship's hull to fold in on itself. "Beautiful," Jung Min murmured, watching the enemy flagship twist into impossible shapes, before disappearing into a miniature black hole that lasted for exactly 3.7 seconds. "Fire again. Target their coordination vessels." Major Song key to all units came the transmission from what the aliens still thought was a simple mining facility on Luna. "Mass drivers are firing, targeting their heavy carriers." The kinetic projectiles launched from Luna Base were marvels of human engineering. Each tungsten rod was accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, guided by quantum computers that could calculate trajectories across vast distances. To the aliens, they appeared on sensors as simple chunks of metal right up until they struck with the force of nuclear weapons. The heavy carriers, massive vessels designed to transport invasion forces, were the first to die. The tungsten rods punched through their hulls like needles through soap bubbles, each impact creating explosions that could be seen from Earth's surface. Secondary explosions rippled through the alien fleet as stored ammunition and fuel cells detonated in chain reactions. "Commander," Zafrok's flagship shuddered as human weapons found their mark. The bioship's living hull screamed in frequencies that made the crew's ears bleed. Damage reports flooded in from every section of the vessel. Systems that had evolved over millions of years to be nearly indestructible were failing in ways that should have been impossible. "Impossible," Zafrok shouted, his tentacles writhing in panic. "Our intelligence said they had no significant military capability. They're supposed to be a primitive species." His tactical officer, the nervous Vactari named Clickstar, was frantically trying to make sense of the sensor readings. "Their weapons are operating on principles our science doesn't understand. They're not just more advanced than we thought, they're using completely different physics." Around them, the Council fleet was dying. Ships that had conquered worlds were being torn apart by humans who weren't supposed to be able to fight back. The perfect formations were breaking down as captains tried desperately to escape weapons that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere in the asteroid belt. Captain Lebo coordinated the defense platforms with the precision of a conductor. Leading an orchestra, focus fire on their command structures. Don't let them reorganize. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity's home. The battle that was supposed to last hours was already over. The aliens just didn't know it yet. The news traveled faster than light itself, carried by quantum communication networks that spanned the galaxy. In the space of 6 hours, humanity had accomplished what no species had ever done before. They had completely destroyed the most powerful military force in known space. The Council's mighty armada, which had numbered in the thousands, was now nothing more than scattered debris floating in Earth's orbit and fleeing survivors who carried with them the most terrifying message the galaxy had ever heard. The humans had won. On the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime, A crystalline world that had served as the center of galactic government for over 1,000 years, chaos erupted in the great assembly halls. Emergency sessions convened as member species pointed accusations at each other with voices that ranged from angry roars to terrified whispers. The carefully maintained order that had held the council together for centuries began to crumble in a matter of hours. The Victari Empire was the first to abandon ship. Their representative, a massive creature with multiple arms and eyes that burned like stars, stood before the remaining council members and declared their immediate withdrawal from the alliance. The Victari Empire will no longer be bound by the decisions of a council that has led us to disaster, he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. We return to our own space and will defend our own interests. The Mordani Collective followed within minutes, their bioships already preparing to leave Nexus Prime's orbit. The Zafani Federation, known for their cold logic and careful planning, took slightly longer to make their decision, but the outcome was the same. By the end of the day, half of the Council's member species had withdrawn from the Alliance, and the remaining members were too busy arguing among themselves to govern anything. Meanwhile, Earth, President Li Min stood before the United Nations Assembly Hall once more. But this time, her audience was not just the representatives of Earth's nations, it was every intelligent species in the galaxy. The transmission was broadcast on every frequency, translated into every known language, and carried to every corner of civilized space. You came to our world demanding submission, she began, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's victory and the promise of what was to come. You believed we would compromise our freedom for your concept of order? You thought fear would make us bow to your will. Instead, you have learned what happens when you threaten the human spirit. The president paused, allowing her words to reach the billions of beings who were watching across the galaxy. But we are not conquerors. We are liberators. Every species that has been oppressed by the Council's rule, every world that has been forced to surrender its resources and its people, every civilization that has been denied the right to govern itself, your time of freedom has come. In the underground command center, beneath the Pacific, Admiral Cho Hyun coordinated the next phase of operations with the same calm precision she had shown during the battle. The war was over, but the work of reshaping the galaxy had only just begun. Human fleets, led by the captains who had proven themselves in the destruction of the Council Armada, began moving to systems throughout the local region. Captain Jung Min, commanding the UES Defiance, was assigned to the Centauri system, where 3 different species had been forced to work in Council mining operations. Captain Oh Jin took the UES Vengeance to the Vega system, where an entire civilization had been reduced to servitude. Captain Yu Min commanded the UES Retribution on a mission to the Wolf system, where Council forces had been strip mining planets for rare minerals, but these were not invasion fleets. They were liberation forces, and their mission was not to conquer but to free. The human ships arrived at each system with the same message. The Council's rule was over, and every species had the right to govern itself. Captain Li Bo, reporting from the Kepler station, came the transmission from the Outer Rim. The orbital platforms have been destroyed. The species here are already declaring independence from the Council. They're calling us heroes. Similar reports flooded in from across the region. The Tau Ceti system had expelled its council governors and was forming its own democratic government. The Proxima colonies had declared themselves free republics. The mining worlds of the Epsilon Eridani system were redistributing their resources among the workers who had been forced to extract them. Dr. Yoon Hay worked with teams of scientists to establish new communication networks, replacing the council's authoritarian system with open channels that any species could access. The quantum relay network is operational, she reported. We're receiving messages from species across the galaxy. They're coordinating their own rebellions against remaining council forces. The collapse was complete and irreversible. Within a month, the Galactic Council officially dissolved, its remaining members fleeing to their home systems or attempting to surrender to human forces. The age of galactic tyranny was over, and in its place rose something the galaxy had never seen before, a confederation of free worlds, each governing itself but united in the principle that no species should ever again be forced to bow to the will of others. President Li Min, looked out at the stars from her office window, watching human ships depart for distant worlds. They wanted compromise, she said quietly. We gave them collapse, the collapse of tyranny and the birth of freedom. Across the galaxy,